Allow me to tell you the story of the Bible by telling you the story through the story of Ruth. And the story of Ruth is wonderful. And it's really cool because it encapsulates the entire picture of the Bible in a 4-chapter long book, which is really kind of cool. But in Deuteronomy chapter 7, it's important to recognize that the Jewish people were given a law in regards to the Gentile women. It says that they should not take or make marriages with the Gentile women because they will turn them to other gods. But then when you read the book of Ruth, you're introduced to a couple people, and two of those people are Naomi and Ruth. Naomi was the Jewish woman, and Ruth was a Moabitess, and she was a Gentile. So you have a Jewish person and you have a Gentile person. And to give you some backstory, Naomi ended up losing her husband and her 2 sons, and so she is just in a world of hurt. And so she's left with 2 of her daughter-in-laws, and she tells her daughter-in-laws to go back to their own land, go back where they came from. And so here what we get is their reaction. This is Ruth's reaction. It says here that they lifted up their voices and wept again, and Orpah, the other Gentile bride, kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, "Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and gods. Return after your sister-in-law." And then this is where you get some amazing stuff. It says, "But Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people and your God, my God." That is awesome. But as you continue reading, you see Naomi, she is in a world of pain and chaos and confusion. And it says, "But she said to them, do not call me Naomi, call me Mara." And so Naomi, before she lost everything, before she felt like her world was falling apart, her name meant pleasant. But then she told everybody to call her Mara, which means bitter. And so here you're seeing Naomi, or Israel, the Jewish people, becoming very bitter. So Ruth and Naomi end up going back to their land, and Ruth just so happens to start working in this field. And this field is where the scene is right now. But it says, then Boaz said to his servant who is in charge of the reapers, "Whose young woman is this?" And so what I want you to see here is that Boaz noticed the woman first. Boaz, before Ruth even knew of Boaz, before of anything like that, Boaz sees her. And so I don't care how you want to look at it, but what you see here in the big picture of things is that Boaz represents Jesus Christ here. Ruth represents the church, and Naomi represents Israel. And so just like what we got done talking about, how you see Naomi representing Israel, Naomi or Israel became bitter. That's what is going on right now. What you're seeing here in this woman, the woman working the field, the woman is Ruth, the woman is the church, and you're seeing that Boaz, or Jesus, saw the woman first. And he's like, "Whose woman is this?" And then the servant of Boaz responds and answers Boaz and says, "She's been working here, continued from morning until now, though she rested a little in the house." I want you to see what she's doing. She is working continually, even though she rested a little bit. She's just constantly working, and that is given to you and I. That is significant. That is not just like little fluff or filler words. That is important for us to recognize. Ruth was working continually. And then Boaz said to Ruth, "You will listen, my daughter, will you not? Do not go to glean in another field, nor go from here, but stay close by my young women." And so now you're seeing that Ruth is in a field, and you recognize that in the New Testament, we are told that the world is the field, and you're seeing the church being in the field, or the church is supposed to be in the world. And he says, "Let your eyes be on the field." And I think that's so neat to see how all of this is coming into play, especially in our time today. And then as the story continues in Ruth 2:11, it says, "And Boaz answered and said to her, it has been fully reported to me all that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, and how you left your father and your mother and came to the land of your birth, and you have come to a people whom you did not know before." And so what you're seeing here is Boaz is saying that it has been fully reported to me. And this is like what's going to happen. Like everybody, like everything that you and I say and do, everything, there's going to be a day, if you do not know Jesus, there's going to be a time where you're going to have to give an account for all of those things. And that's going to take place at the great white throne judgment. You do not want to go there. But here you're seeing what's being fully reported to Boaz in regards to Ruth. And then he references this fully report and he brings in the reward into the picture. Boaz says, the Lord repay your work and a full reward. And so you're seeing a reward being connected to the work that you and I are doing if you're a born again believer right now. And so that is awesome. Revelation chapter 22 talks about how when he returns, his reward is going to be with him. I'm like, what's that going to be? Because that sounds awesome. But then as the story continues in Ruth 2:19, Ruth goes back to Naomi, and Naomi is like, where have you gleaned today, and where did you work? And then Ruth tells Naomi about Boaz. And so what I want you to pay attention here is that Naomi had no idea. Naomi is just sitting at home. She's upset. She's bitter. And then she has no idea what Ruth is doing. And so Ruth is the one who tells Naomi about Boaz. And so what you see here in this verse right here is that Ruth, or the church, tells Naomi, or Israel, about Boaz, or Jesus. And you're just seeing an awesome picture going on here that is all the way back in the Old Testament. But then Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, Blessed be he of the Lord who has not forsaken his kindness to the living and of the dead. And Naomi said to her, this man is a relation of ours, one of our close relatives. So Naomi is blessing the Lord because he did not forsake them. And that's exactly what's going to happen in the future. The Jewish people are blind right now in part because they missed the time of their visitation, but they have not forsaken, or he has not forsaken them. And then what we see here is that Boaz was a close relative. He's a close relative. And so we need to remember that Jesus is a Jewish person. And so we see that being amplified here in Ruth 2. Then in Ruth chapter 3, verse 3, Naomi tells Ruth to go down to the threshing floor. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the bride going to the husband. And I think that's really, really instructive for you and I, because there's some people who believe that, Jesus is just going to come back to the earth and we're not going to go to him. No, I believe the church is going to go to him. And that is awesome. So Ruth ends up listening to Naomi. He goes to she goes to Boaz, and she lays down at his feet, and she lifts his garment, covers her with his garment, which is a picture of, covering. And then it says, Boaz says, and now my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you request. And so you see this transaction, basically this agreement that is being set right here. And what I want you to pay attention to is that Boaz is saying, I am going to do for you all that you request. So Boaz is going to handle the situation. Then Ruth goes back to Naomi, and Naomi tells Ruth, hey, don't worry about anything, Ruth, because the man, Boaz, will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day. And so Israel is telling the church that Jesus is not going to rest until he has concluded this matter. That's a picture of what you can see here. It's awesome. So Boaz goes to the closer relative and he's like, hey, are you going to redeem the land? Because if you redeem the land, you can do that because you are the closer relative. And then the relative says, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. And so he tells him, he's like, you redeem it. You do it, Boaz. Go ahead and take it. And if you take it, you'll take everything that's a part with it. In verse 9 of chapter 4, it says, and Boaz said to the elders and all the people, you are witnesses to this day, and I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's from the hand of Naomi. Now, why this verse is unbelievable, because you're seeing that you have the elders being introduced here. And if you know Revelation chapter 4 and 5, you're seeing the elders being a part of this. Everybody's seeing it. They're all witnesses, and it's super neat to see what's going on here. But you see the connection. But what I want you to recognize here, more importantly, is that they said all. Boaz is like, I got it all. I bought all of it. And then he continues on and he says, moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, I have acquired as my wife. And so you're seeing a Gentile bride becoming a wife. And that is one of the reasons why I believe the church is the bride. The church is going to be the wife. If you read Revelation chapter 20 and 21, you see this. It's unbelievable to see this beautiful picture here. Romans 8:3, for what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God did. So just like what Boaz did, he didn't rest, God did, and he is not resting.